Happy New Year, everybody! Welcome to episode 198 of eBay the Right Way. Today's date is January 1st, 2025. Starting off a fresh new year of opportunities. My guest today is Carol. And no announcements since everybody is probably still in holiday mode and maybe nursing a headache from a little too much indulging. So we will go right into the chat with Carol.
Hello, listeners, and welcome back to another exciting episode of eBay the Right Way. And I have Carol with us this morning. How are you doing today?
Doing well. Happy to be here. I always think of you and your guests as my coworkers because I'm alone all day in working on eBay, and when I hear you guys, I feel like, oh, these are my coworkers, so I'm happy to be a part of this.
Great. Good to hear. Yeah, it can be a lonely business, but there's trade-offs for everything.
True.
So now tell us where you're located.
I'm in Minnesota, and I'm in a small town about 40 minutes west of Minneapolis.
Okay. Do you want to reveal the name of that town or keep it a secret?
I live in Delano, which is yeah, just a small little hamlet.
Okay. So my connection to Minnesota is my dad got a job transfer there from the South when us kids were little. And I think he was working for Lehigh Cement Company.
Mm.
And my brother was born there in Minnesota in Bloomington.
Oh, sure.
So I don't remember any of it. I just hear the stories my whole life of how Southerners should not move to Minnesota.
No. Oh, first thing I thought of, I wonder how long he lasted here.
Well, and my mom's from Florida. So
Mm,
that was really hard for her. So
sure.
anyway,
Brutal.
we have pictures and we hear the stories, but I don't remember it.
Probably
So
passed.
yeah. And so what's your temperature there today?
Today we're, I think, 7 below is what my computer screen is saying.
Like
Yep.
that's your temperature right now?
Yes. Yes. It's
Oh
brutal
my
today.
gosh. Yeah. So here in South Carolina, it's 39.
Okay. I bet you call
Going,
that chilly.
yeah, going up to 50. So
I love it.
yeah. Okay. All right. Well, now we have the weather report. Tell us how you got started on eBay and when that was.
Sure. It was 2002. And how I got started was my sister had been an eBay seller in the late 90s, and I really didn't pay a lot of attention to what she was up to. And one day we were at my parents' house, and I found a little cardboard treasure box of things I would have had, treasures that an 8-year-old would have. So in there was like wacky packages and gum wrapper chains and Pez dispenser, the stuff you keep when you're 8. And I found it and I was dumping it out, and my sister picked up the Pez dispenser, and I didn't think anything of it. And then a couple weeks later, she said, "Oh, I owe you $240."
What?
And I said the same thing. What? And she said, "I sold your Pez dispenser on eBay." And I can't quite remember if it was a doctor or a nurse, but I think it was a doctor, and it had its little stethoscope, and I don't know much more about it, but she sold it, and that's when eBay hit my radar. It was like, holy smackies, what is she doing over there in that little eBay corner? And so a couple years later, I was busy. I had twin girls. I was up to my ears. But a couple years later, she bought me my first postal scale and came over and sat with me and taught me eBay. And initially, it was really just kind of wax and wane. I would do it when I had a minute, and I would sell stuff of the girls, their toys or whatever that I'd probably gotten at a garage sale sold them on eBay. And then just kind of over time, it just kind of grew. Now I call it a profitable hobby. It's
Yes,
not my day job, but it's my fun.
absolutely. Yeah. Now, did you have a professional career before you had your
I,
kids?
yes, I did. I have kind of two separate careers. One, I started off in aviation out of college. I had an internship at People Express Airline in New Jersey, which you may remember in the 80s. It was the low cost airline boom that was going on.
Okay.
I had an internship in recruiting for them, which led me to a job at the Singer Company, who was starting a new division making flight simulators. So the sewing machine company was also making flight simulators. So worked for them and ended up eventually moving back to Minnesota to work for a division of Northwest Airlines that was doing pilot training. So that was my career pre-children. And then I had twin girls and stayed home with them. And as they got a little older, I ended up pivoting into teaching CPR and first aid. So that's what I
Oh
do now.
gosh. Okay.
And I'm a contract employee, which gives me the flexibility that I really wanted. So they call me and say, here are classes we need to cover. And then I pick the ones that are going to work for me. So about 2, 3 times a week, I'll spend a
Oh,
day it's a different company every time I teach. So one week I'm going into a cheese factory. The next week I'm going teaching guys who work with sheet metal. The next day it might be folks who work in parks. So it's fun because it's something different, completely different kind of vibe every time I teach.
okay. Now, did you have a specialized degree to go into the aviation jobs?
No, because I was in the branch that had to do with marketing, and that was my background. I was a speech and English major. So
Okay. Wow, you've done all kinds of things.
I have, but that's just because I'm old.
Okay, so let's get into your eBay sales and history and how you do your business. Do you specialize in anything or are you just an everything seller?
um, my first love are toys and games. So, do you remember the feeling you used to have when you were a kid looking at the Christmas catalog and you
Mm-hmm.
look at the toys and you just marvel? I still get that. I love toys. That's my dopamine hit. If you're opening the doors to a sale, I gravitate towards the table that has the toys first. I know them, I love them. That being said, I look at my store and it is absolutely everything from a snowmobile helmet to a candlestick. But if you gave me a choice, I'm always going to gravitate towards toys.
Mm-hmm.
So, um, I pulled up some of the sales that I thought were a little bit interesting. And one that got a lot of reaction on your Facebook page was one recently where I sold 9 Huggies disposable diapers from
Yes.
1989.
Yes.
And these diapers I picked up on the last day of a garage sale, and I picked them up simply because my niece has a little one, and I thought I didn't look at them closely. I just thought everybody needs diapers tucked everywhere, emergency diapers. They were cheap, a couple dollars or something. So I picked them up, and then as I was taking them out of the car, I looked at the package and realized this is older. This isn't how diapers look now. They were thicker and crinklier. And so I remembered something about vintage diapers. And so I did some research and thought, I think I have something here. So I tested it with just a single diaper. I threw one up for 26 bucks. It sold in 15 minutes.
Really?
Yeah. So then I thought, oh, was that a fluke? Put up another one. Nope. It sold quickly, $26.
So is this a pack of diapers or a single
A
diaper?
single diaper. So these are
Really?
1989. I had a pack with 11 diapers in it.
Okay.
So my way of testing it was just pull one out of this pack, put it up there, and because it was a partial pack, so there was no harm in opening it because it was already open.
Mm-hmm.
Those sold quickly, and then the gentleman who bought one of them asked, "Do you have any more?" And so I kind of stalled a little bit because I didn't really know what I had and I had to figure that out. But as soon as I did some research, I thought, okay, I think a fair price is $235. So I messaged him back saying I can put them all up in a listing. I'll tell you I'm listing it now so that you have the first opportunity. And I thought he'd balk at that. I mean, I would, but nope, bought him right away. And so it's one of those things where there's a buyer for everything, probably. I mean, that just, who would have thought?
And
So
he never said why he was buying
I
them.
didn't really want to ask Suzanne. Now, if it was a more normal product, I would have. It went to
Okay.
Ohio. So it didn't go to Hollywood. It went to Ohio. Um, Normally, I mean, that's just one thing I thought, he's not volunteering. I'm not going to ask him. I'll just,
Right. Yeah, I get that. You got to be
mm,
comfortable with it. Yeah.
mm,
Okay. Yeah, I remember seeing that on the group, and that's on my radar now because Marla and Ed that were on a couple weeks ago, they were talking about some cloth diapers
mm,
that they sold, and it just seems like this keeps coming up with the vintage diapers.
sure. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes. Keep an eye out.
absolutely.
Yes. And another sale that was fun for me was I was in a thrift store and there was a basket of ornaments. And they're all kind of jumbled up, and those can be annoying to look at. But I saw one that was an RV. And my husband always teases me that we're going to sell everything and go live in an RV. So I thought, oh, I'll get this ornament for him. And when I got it home, I realized this thing is talking. I'm like, oh, there's sound to this. So it made me take a better look at it. And I figured out that it was a Chevy Chase Cousin Eddie RV ornament.
Okay.
And you've probably heard those are sought after. So I put that one in on auction. I paid $1 for it and it sold for $270.
Ah,
Now, when listeners are looking for this, be careful now because that was a number of years ago, and now there's remakes that are not worth that.
mm-hmm.
They're selling them at Kohl's and all over the place. So make sure you do your due diligence before you think you have the hot one.
Yeah, anything that's valuable, there's a crap reproduction of it.
Precisely. Precisely. Yeah.
You have to look
So,
at where it was made. Sometimes they'll have a date. Um, like vintage sheets, bed sheets.
mm,
Sometimes they'll have a date on the tag that, like the strawberry shortcake is hot again, but
mm,
the original that came out in the 70s, that stuff's really valuable. But you gotta do your homework, but there's also groups for everything.
true
Just,
enough.
I have this, I can't figure out if it is original or reproduction, and it's just amazing the depth of knowledge some people have about the most random things.
Precisely. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So were you shocked at that sale?
Oh, that one had my husband just bowled over when we were watching this auction. And I think that's when the light bulb went off for him too. Like, hey, this is a thing. You find the right thing. Uh, my husband is in sales and he always says that even a blind squirrel finds a nut every once in a while.
There you go.
So every once in a while you just get lucky. And so that was a fun one. Another one that stands out was I was we have a little cabin and I was heading there and I drove by pile of stuff on the boulevard. It looked like wood and stuff, just garbage really, and I could tell someone was moving. And then I noticed as I was blowing by, hey, wait, there was a free sign, and I think I saw a blow mold. So I do the little Starsky and Hutch screech turn, blow back there,
Yep.
and went back and dug in there, and I found just the car of a train blow mold. So picture the engine, and then there's a attached to it is a little car, like a coal car. And so I pulled it out, and I thought, I wonder if this is going to be anything because it's only part of a set. But I threw it in my car, and then as I went to look up and figure out what it was, it ended up selling for over $300 for some just free little nonsense on the side of the road. So that one kind of gobsmacked me. But now I'm on to blow molds now. I've never met a blow mold I couldn't sell. So now I
And
know.
how big was this?
Oh, let's see. Picture like two copy paper boxes stacked on top of each other.
Okay.
And it's lighted. It has that little cord in the back with the light bulb. And I think it was Union or United or some name like that. Empire is another common one. But blow molds, if you have they're light, they're bulky, obviously, but they're not hard to ship. And they're
Right. Yeah.
always lucrative. Even the little tabletop ones I've sold quite a number of that are worth picking up.
Did you have those growing up? Did your family decorate with those?
We did not. We had wooden, like vintage wooden manger scene that was life sized. They were all individual characters. I see them every now and again. And my parents did a lot of lights and things, but we never had the blow molds.
Okay. So,
But they're
what year were you born?
62.
Okay. Okay. So yeah, you're right in the middle of all that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So when my dad's objective when decorating outside was to make it look like a used car lot. And as much stuff as you could put out there. And we had
Love.
the molds with like the Christmas carolers and the Santa and the reindeer, and they were the big ones that
Yes.
like 3-4 feet tall that you put out in the yard.
Love
And
it.
yeah, people are like, oh, that's got to be hard to ship, but I mean they're light, so as long
Mm-hmm.
as you cushion them well,
Yeah.
it seems to be
They
okay.
don't break easily. They're
Right.
plastic. They've been through a lot. So
Yeah, if they've survived this long.
yeah. Yeah.
Well, that sounds fun. Okay, what else do you have
Yes.
on your list?
Well, I have a kind of a sweet buyer story. I bought at a church sale a vintage talking Wrinkles dog puppet. So this was from the 80s. Wrinkles was a Shar-Pei dog that sometimes it would be a plush, but this was a puppet, and it
Okay.
talked, and the talking still worked. And I put it up. It wasn't valuable. I probably sold it for $25. It went to Florida. And then shortly after that, I get a message from the buyer um, letting me know how thrilled he was. He was the inventor of the dog.
Oh,
And he had been the engineer that was tasked. He said he had 4 months to write the code for the artificial intelligence and the speaking vocabulary for this puppet. And he also had to figure out how to make him sing. And he said he drove the neighbor's dog nuts because all day long there'd be electronic voices, electronic barking coming from his house as he figured out how to make this puppet sing and talk. And he said as part of his contract, he got a number of them, but at the time he gave them away. And now he has a nephew, and he was so happy to find one that he could gift to his nephew as kind of his legacy project. And so that was just kind of liked having that little backstory.
Yeah, I love it when things come full circle like that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And
Finds its way home. I
we're
said
just one
Wrinkles,
link in the chain to help
yeah.
rehome things. Yeah.
I told him Wrinkles came back to his dad. So,
Oh,
um, the other thing I thought might help some new sellers is games. Even if you think this game looks like the most boring game in the world, sometimes they're worth picking up because games at a thrift store or garage sale usually are a few bucks and sometimes less than that. And I just sold one called The American Dream. And honestly, Suzanne, if I were a kid, I wouldn't play this game if you gave me $1 million. It looks so boring. It looked like, here, go work in a finance department and call it fun. It just didn't work for me. But put that up and it sold really quickly for $49. And there's also another one that I think looks not very exciting, but it's called the Farming Game. And it's again one of those finance kind of games. And I've sold a number of those for around $39. But you can pick those up pretty cheaply. But with games, I always encourage people to think about parting them out versus selling them whole. Because so often I find that the parting them out um, actually makes more money than the easy way of just, putting it in a poly and off it goes. But, or sometimes you buy a pretty princess game from the thrift store and realize, it's missing half its parts. Don't throw it away. You still got something here. You're going to take out the yellow earrings and you're just going to sell the yellow earrings and, you'll just find a way. But,
or just
um,
the board.
yeah,
Somebody may have the game and their board is dirty and old and falling apart, and they want a new, if it's a board game, they want a new
precisely.
board.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, I think people forget about that. And, when you're out there looking at, and sometimes the boxes are all taped up or
Hmm.
have that stretch wrap on them. And, I get why the thrift store wants to keep everything together, but then you can't see what's inside because, we
Hmm.
don't all have x-ray vision. We can't see what's, um, but it's what, $2 or $3, take a
Hmm.
chance, see what's in it.
Hmm.
And I've done that before. I'm getting back into the toys. But there's so many different games.
Yes.
It's not just Monopoly and Scrabble and
Oh,
you know.
oh, no, it is endless. There is another game that I always tell folks to look for. It is rare. Um, it is called Cranium Caribou Magical Treasure Hunt.
Okay.
There's cranium games, they're ubiquitous, they're
Yes.
everywhere. But this particular one, the Caribou Magical Treasure Hunt, I find it super hard to find. I've found maybe two in the wild, and then because it's for the littler kids, the pieces are often missing. But the pieces are worth quite a bit, and the game itself is over $60 all day long. And so if you're at a garage sale and that's priced right, I would definitely pick up that one.
Is it not made anymore?
I don't think so. And I think
Okay.
it must have had an or a short run simply because otherwise we'd be seeing them next to all the billion cranium games you see all the time at
Right.
Goodwill.
Yeah.
My kids had it. It is a fun game. I get the
Okay.
appeal.
But you're right. Back to the financial games. Yeah, some of them look so boring.
Yeah.
Uh, and you're like, why would anybody play this? But I think with homeschool and even in the
Oh, sure.
in public and private schools, it's a learning tool. And
Sure.
um, parents want their kids to be financially smart. So let's
Hmm.
play a game where you can learn about that. Um,
Makes a
And
lot of sense.
right, you kind of have to put your own personal opinions aside
You
sometimes.
do.
And it's not pretty princess with the jewelry. It's, this cash,
Exactly.
it's cash flow. Robert Kiyosaki's game. That is,
Mm,
I found that and sold that for around 50.
mhm,
So, but there's a bunch of them,
mhm.
that's a popular thing now.
Sure. Yeah. Makes sense.
Yeah.
One other thing I thought I would mention is sometimes, again, if you're a beginner seller, you can hear people kind of talking about, oh, I just bought a storage locker, or I just bought this $200 coat to flip for 800. And if you're a beginning seller, that can be kind of daunting, like, oh my goodness, I'm not laying out that kind of money. But I do want to say, I look at a lot of what not a lot, but a portion of what I'm selling, I paid a quarter for it. Not everything has to be a huge outlay. And one of them that comes to mind was I went to a garage sale and they had baby blankets, which we've talked about before, but um, I think I probably bought them because it was teenagers running the sale and I felt sorry for them. Like I thought, oh, I should buy something for these kids. So I bought a handful of these baby blankets and they were like a quarter each. And one of them was Carter's Hungry Caterpillar baby blanket. It's the cotton ones. And I put that up for $45 after looking at comps, and there weren't many, there was one maybe. It sold within a day. So that quarter turned into $45. The point being that there's money to be made on items that you don't pay a lot for. And so you just have to kind of test it out.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think it's almost like the challenge of how
Mm-hmm.
cheap can I get stuff? And,
Mm-hmm.
um, some sellers just sell items less than $20. Like
Mm-hmm.
that's their main source of revenue, but they're only paying a quarter for it. And so 100 of those a month add up.
Right. And yeah, I kind of think of it as if I saw $3 on the sidewalk, I'm picking it up. If I can make a small amount of money with very little effort, meaning I could take 4 photos, slam it in a bag I paid nothing for because I don't pay for my shipping supplies. I get them donated to me. Um, it's easy enough, and here and there, and it all just starts adding up. But it depends too about what you want eBay to be, what your goal is. If you're trying to pay your mortgage and finance a trip to Japan, it's a different hustle.
Mm-hmm.
And then maybe you are into the bigger things with bigger payoffs. But if this is your hobby, it doesn't have to be this, big huge outlay of dollars to make it profitable.
Well, and it depends on what your objective is. Like you can
Mm,
hustle it really hard and just, okay, I'm just going to list as much as I can and um, take those lower sales and they add up. Like if you have a mission, you're paying off credit cards or you're saving for a child's college or whatever it is, you can work it as hard as you want.
mm-hmm,
Or you can pull back and it does lead to burnout sometimes when you're
mm-hmm,
just working it all the time. But then again, if you're wired that way, because like everywhere I go, I'm looking
mm-hmm.
at the grocery store on the clearance shelf and I'm looking, it's just, I'm wired that way.
Sure.
Nobody taught me to do it. I just figured it out. And it's like, I guess that's my dopamine rush. It's
Yeah.
um, finding those things. What did I find the other day? I found I thought it was dollhouse furniture. Like it was these little boxes of dollhouse furniture. And I opened one and it's a kit. It's these teeny tiny little furniture pieces and you put them together and stain the wood. And I'm like, oh my gosh, why would anybody want to do that? It's so it's so
Tedious.
tiny and it's so what's the word I'm looking for here? Like meticulous work.
Mhm.
Um, but some of those little kits, they're vintage, like the Queen Anne cherry wood wardrobe sells for $50 for
Holy
this tiny
shit.
little kit of a few pieces of, I think it's balsa wood.
Oh,
Um, but I thought, you're going to have to get a microscope to look through to put this stuff together.
yes.
So small. But so I just bought like 5 boxes. I bought all they had. I'd never seen anything like that before. I knew about dollhouse furniture, but I didn't realize there were kits where you assemble it. And
Sure.
of course, I got home with it, and none of the ones I had were heavy hitters. I
Mhm.
internet in the store wasn't great, so I'm like, well, they're cheap. I'm just going to try it. So,
Right.
but it's stuff like that that you just you see different things all the time.
Right.
It just never gets boring. And okay, I learned something. I learned that people like to do this, and okay, if you're gonna go cross-eyed or go blind doing it, that's up to you. I will provide that product.
Yes. Well, and I think it's another benefit having this as a hobby. My day job, of course, I'm extroverting and having to be animated and 100% out there. And then I go into my little eBay cave and it kind of rejuvenates me. But the other thing is I think it helps my brain with all the mental gymnastics we have to do in all the different facets of eBay. I don't even think we realize sometimes how much our brains are zigging and zagging and working. And so it's just another way I can justify that this is my hobby is that I think it's good for my brain to keep learning stuff.
I have learned about myself that if I'm not excited about it, I am not going to list it.
Mhm.
Like yesterday, I had a listing day and I had been out treasure hunting the day before. And I just had all these things. I was so excited to dive into it, get it listed, and oh, somebody's going to love this. And if you don't feel that way about it, it is, if it's not energizing, then it's draining. So
Is.
you have to find those items that energize you. And for me, it's new and different things that I've never worked with before. Like I'm going to learn
Mhm.
about this. I'm going to find out about that. And then I determine like cameras, electronics is just, I don't get excited about those.
Mm.
I just don't. But the
Sure.
vintage items, the handmade uh, little napkins and placemats that are embroidered and all those beautiful things that were
Sure.
made 40, 50 years ago. I really love working with that.
Mhm. Yes. And then it doesn't feel like work. It just feels fun. Yeah. I
Right.
agree. I get it.
Yeah. Okay. What other kinds of items do you have to talk about?
Let's see here. One thing I do a lot um Fisher Price Little People. Now I'm not
Okay.
talking about the very vintage ones, which I do sell, but the market is really kind of not what it used to be on the very early little peg people.
Hmm.
That used to be more sought after than it is now. And I don't know the reason for that, except things come and go and you have to move on kind of thing. But um, the Fisher Price Little People A to Z, it's a mouthful, A to Z Alphabet Zoo. This is a play set. It's not the peg people, it's later. And that set, if you come across it, is worth $100. You can sell it for $100 easy. Or the parts themselves. So the waterfall is $30, and the cave is probably $30. And so sometimes I'll come across some of the pieces and I just put them in a bin because it's supposed to have 26 animals. and I might be missing a few animals. So every time I get an animal, I just throw it in a bin. And then my daughter helps me sometimes. I'll just hand her the bin and say, go find out if this is complete. And then voila, as soon as I've scavenged together enough for a set, those will always sell. There are also a few little people princesses that, again, these little people, you see them for a quarter in little garage sale bins all the time. One is it's Fisher Price Little People Princess Parade. So it's Disney Princess Little People in little floats. So little plastic floats about 6 inches long. But that little Jasmine with her float is $39. And I have come across her a handful of times. So that one, but you could find Cinderella, not worth more than $8. But so there is money to be made, but you just kind of have to do a little research. The other thing I recommend always watching out for are veggie tail items. Um, oh my goodness, some of those just surprise you. I had a 3-inch tall Larry boy veggie tail character, and it talked. You pushed a button and it had a button battery and it talked. And that little rascal just sat around. I never listed it because I didn't assume it was worth anything worth worrying about. And I finally looked at it, and that sold quickly for $45. So sometimes those little kind of oddball things, always have your phone and check, check, check.
Well, that's a good tip. I didn't realize those were popular again. I don't know when they came out. It must have been 90s.
The veggie tail?
Yes.
Yes. And oh my goodness, there's this Larry boy who is, from what I can understand, kind of a super ego of one of the main veggie tail guys. He comes out as this superhero. There is like a car that he's in that's worth some money. I sold two little 3-inch figures that did nothing. They were just I don't know, a gourd and a squash or whatever they are. And those two together, those sold for probably $39. Those took a while, but that there's a VeggieTale nativity set too. That
Oh, really?
so yeah, keep an eye out for those, even plush. And
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if they don't make them or um what the appeal is, but why ask why? I don't know.
Well, if they came out in the 90s, those what were kids are now adults, are getting into their 30s. So maybe they're reliving that with those toys for their kids.
Yes, yes, the full circle kind of thing. Yes, I get that.
Yeah, well, that is a great tip because I did not realize they were hot again. Is your main source of inventory from thrift stores? Obviously, you only have summers to do garage sales.
Right. Well, here is the thing, Suzanne. My favorites are garage sales and church sales. I do so well with that. A church sale, there's something on every table and it's so compact and reasonably priced, and you feel like you're helping them out. And so give me a church sale all day long, I'm there.
Mm-hmm.
There are a few thrift stores. I'm kind of, like I said, it's a small town. Estate sales are pretty much unheard of. I've been to some estate sales towards Minneapolis. I'm not sure I like the vibe. It feels a very maybe just because I would go when it opened, but it was so frenetic, people like zigging and zagging and
They're too aggressive. Like you can't shop because the people are too aggressive. Yes, I've been in those situations, and I'm a slow, peaceful, leave me alone, let me look kind of shopper. I'm not in there to run and grab and throw to my partner and, tag team. And no, I don't want to shop like that.
Right. And that was my experience with estate sales, where I just thought, oh, this just feels so I don't chaotic. I didn't like
Mhm.
it. So my main sourcing are the garage sales and church sales. So I hear, of course, every reseller bemoans their death pile. Oh my goodness, the death pile is the bane of their existence. I love my death pile. I call it my job security pile because for 5 months I don't have a really good source. So when I
So you
have
mean you're not going out today at Seven Below to go to some thrift stores? No,
not
I don't
often.
blame you on that. And just, yeah, the death pile, the way you think about it.
Mhm.
It's change your thoughts, change your perspective. And sometimes you need that to work from. Like if
Mhm.
you're, a lot of families are sharing a car now, you know,
Mm.
one works at home. Why do you need two cars?
Yeah.
So if you can't get out and just go whenever you want to, you have to plan it and coordinate it. You need a pile to work from. Or
Mhm.
like you in brutal cold weather, you don't have to leave your cozy little home. You can just work from your pile.
Sure. And some days after I've been teaching classes during the week, I just want a day to cocoon and I don't want to have to go out and treasure hunt if I don't need to. So then I pull down a bin and I say, oh, what did I buy last summer that I've completely forgotten about?
Right.
And then you open it up and it's like, oh, I forgot I bought this. And then you can just start working off that. So everybody's different on how how they want to work that, but I like having that because I get when the getting's good, and that's May through September. And then
Well, and I think there used to be a stigma with the death pile that it means you're a hoarder
right,
because
right.
you're not listing your stuff. But it's all about that, in the fall, be like a squirrel and gather your nuts because, it's going to be a long, cold winter or whatever the reason is.
Hmm.
You know, people have legitimate reasons. It's when it gets out of control and you're not listing.
Sure. Yeah.
I'm not
Then
judging anybody. If you've got 1,000 items sitting there, but you're listing every day, sometimes you got to get when the getting's good.
right. Yeah, my daughter, sometimes I'll ask her, we'll get an offer, I'll get an offer on something. I'll ask her, do you think I should take this? And she'll say, we're not a storage facility. And that's just a way of saying, yes, just move it on out, move it on out. So I'll take offers on anything that's reasonable.
Mhm.
I'm not wed to anything. I want it to go where it belongs. So,
Yeah, keep it moving
mhm,
because I don't think anybody out there has a problem finding stuff.
right.
Maybe finding it for the price you want to pay, but
Mm,
there's no shortage of stuff and it's just going to keep multiplying as we go forward into the future because
yes,
of all the baby boomers and the generation before them that are downsizing, going to assisted living, or
yes,
whatever the situation is. Where's the stuff going to go?
yes. Yeah, that's real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you had a cute story for us, and I think this is very relevant because I think this happens. And where are the people going to get the items to do this kind of thing? So, do you want to
Hmm.
tell your story now?
Sure, sure. Um, the story is my parents lived in their house for the house we grew up in into their 80s. They were there 40 some years. I have three siblings, and every now and again I would ask my mom, Mom, whatever happened to like my baby small talk? Or do you remember when I had Archie paper dolls? What went on with those? And she would say, oh, I don't know. We had four kids. I don't know. Did that end up in the attic or did we send it to the church sale? Maybe it's around here somewhere. Maybe someday we'll go up in the attic and see what we find. So she was kind of vague about it. And then one year, I was probably about 30 years old. I'm the youngest. So my older siblings and I were all home for Christmas. And we woke up on Christmas morning and there were our stockings from when we were young, but underneath it were our childhood toys that my mom had in fact held on to, but never told us she still had them.
Okay.
So I came in and there's baby tender love and my viewmaster and my
Oh.
Mark's dollhouse, those metal ones,
Uh-huh.
and all these things that I was so bonded to as a kid. I felt like you know that movie Toy Story where all the toys are alive and the kid is so bonded to them, and I was like, "Oh, that's how I felt about my toys as a kid." So it was really just this nostalgic rush of kind of emotion. Um but it was her also my parents' way of saying, okay, you've got your own places now. These are your things. They're going home with you. And if you don't want them, you find them a new home. If you want them, they don't live here anymore. They live with you. And it was a way of trying to start emptying out the house, but it was in a very, very sweet way to give us back our things. And so some of those things, like my baby tender love, I still have it. Could never make my girls love it the way I did, but
Right.
I have Viewmasters. I have some toys, but I did end up selling some of those later as I got into eBay. Some of them I thought, okay, I don't need Archie anymore, so off they went. But
Well, I love that she saved everything and she was organized enough to do that for you
hmm
and your siblings. And
hmm
where I was going with this story is, well, when my brother turned 40, which was, I don't know, 15 years ago or something, I bought him for his birthday the $6 million man lunchbox with the thermos, the Evil Knievel wind up thing where, you wind it up and he shoots
yep,
out it, a Fisher Price bus, and another, maybe a GI Joe, something like that. Just, vintage toys, just for
yes,
the nostalgia of it. And he
yes.
loved it. I bought all of them on eBay,
Mm.
and he loved it, and
Oh.
he sat there and played with it. He rigged up so the Evil Knievel would jump over the Fisher Price bus.
Of
So
course.
he was playing with all his toys and doing the six
Oh,
dollar
oh.
man theme and all that stuff. And so, just for the listeners, it's not just collectors that buy these things. It's,
Mhm.
for nostalgia, whether you're buying it as a gift for somebody or yourself, just
Mhm.
because you loved that item. Now, was Baby Tender Love the one where you feed it and change the diaper?
No, Baby Tender Love was unique when she came out because she was squishy soft, like a
Right,
foam, where our dolls before then, like my baby Small Talk, which was the talking one, her body was hard, and a
right.
lot of dolls' bodies were hard.
Okay.
And what was novel, I think, now that you mentioned that, I think Baby Tender Love might have had a bottle that I don't know that she was drinking wet. I can't remember that part. Um, but the fact that she felt soft was novel in
Okay.
the year that was.
So my youngest sister was born in 1970, and
Mm.
I was born in 66. So she got all the good dolls that were, I was too old to play with them by then, but
hmm
she had that baby alive, and
Oh,
you feed baby alive and
yes.
change diaper and all that stuff.
Oh, yes.
I'm the second of four. So I took care of my little brother and sister, and I changed my little sister's diapers.
You didn't
And
need
I
that at
could
all.
not figure out why she wanted a doll that you had to change the diaper on.
Ooh.
It's like, that is not exciting to me.
Sounds like a youngest, just like me, a youngest.
Yeah, yeah. And
Yep.
she got like the McDonald's play set with the McDonald's restaurant, and then inside you had the workers and the food,
Yes.
and the drive-through with a little car, and
Oh,
she had all
cool.
these cool toys that I remember. We had a little kitchen, a play kitchen, and we didn't have any of the play food, so we used like golf balls for meatballs and
Clever.
little tiny socks for bacon. We had to figure out what to use for food because it came with a few little things, but
Mhm.
we kept adding more stuff to it. And
Very
now you see,
imaginative, very imaginative, very good.
and now it's like these huge bags of play food. There's everything imaginable, and
Yeah.
there's like Velcro where you can stick the pickle and the onion to the hamburger and all this kind of stuff. So,
Yeah. They don't need the imagination of the sock bacon.
yeah. I was like, oh, I just stole some tongs from the kitchen, the real kitchen, and would pretend to make bacon. So anyway, well, we have been going about an hour now.
Oh my goodness.
So I told you that would go by fast.
Yes.
And so are you leaving home today on this 7 below temperature day?
Well, Suzanne, I just got the memo that Christmas is coming. So I need to get some I need to deck the halls here. It's looking pretty bleak and I need to get some decor up. So my day today is hunker in here, put on cozy clothes, put on some Christmas music, and let's get this place decked.
Deck the halls. Okay. And you don't have a fake background like I do with a meticulously decorated, trendy Christmas tree and log cabin. For the listeners, I always have some kind of background on the Zoom call because I do these so often, I get bored. And so I go find a fun, festive background. Carol was like, wow, look at your house. And I'm like, no, it's fake. It's virtual.
It inspired me.
Yeah. So too bad you can't do that in real.
Mhm.
So okay, well, thanks again for agreeing to come on and good luck with your decorating. I'm
Thank
sure
you.
you'll get a lot done. You seem very industrious.
I hope so. Thanks.
Okay, have a good day. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, Carol. I really enjoyed that. It was fun to talk to you and learn all about your business. Next week, my guest is Laura, who has had some very tough life struggles, but she is back on top of things and will share her journey. She really is an inspiration. And thank you, listeners, for supporting this podcast. I appreciate all of you, and I wish each and every one of you a happy, healthy, and prosperous 2025. Talk to you next week. Bye for now.